Bro, draw the hair. This man has such a nice hair. Look at this hair. Oh, this whole shape of the hair is just beautiful. He deserves hair. Please give him hair. Hey everyone, welcome back to another YouTube video. My name is Anosh, I'm a professional concept artist. I work in games and movies the last 7 years and I also a full-time teacher. And today we're going to react on Sam Does Art, how to draw faces. When I think about Sam, I think about someone who talks very gently and quiet and in a very relaxing way. This video got recommended by another student of mine to react on it and what's my opinion on it, so we will jump right away into the video.
Are you serious right now? Stop that. Stop it. God, I've had it with these burbs. Oh! Alright guys, do your faces look like poop? Not your actual face, I'm talking about the ones that you draw. I'm sure your face is beautiful. Anyway, so I wanted to do a bit of practice in my sketchbook this morning and I thought, wait a minute, why not share that with you guys so that we can learn?
The way he talks kind of like makes me tired already.
Learn and grow together so that our faces no longer look like poop. Anyways, so here I'll walk you guys through the process, show you guys some of the practice work that I did this morning. My focus was on faces because faces are tough. As you guys can see, the first page here, the very first warm-up is a bunch of skulls. Understanding how the human anatomy works plays a big part in being able to draw your face as well. Portraits of other human beings, I would say, is probably one of the hardest things that you can draw because our brains have this natural ability to recognize faces. We are very sensitive to things that don't look right on someone's face. We're very perceptive of other people's expressions. We're very perceptive of the way their faces are constructed because it's really life or death. If you're one of our ancestors and someone's looking at you like, they might be trying to kill you. That's why when you're doing...
He's really good with this. What he says is absolutely true. It's really hard to draw faces. Basically, we see faces every day. That's why it makes it so hard on making them look good if you don't have the fundamental knowledge below. I'm kind of like curious where he goes with the video because he just started on drawing kind of like skulls for 10 minutes, but also not really correct in perspective, and there was like planes missing and stuff, so I'm kind of like wondering, okay, it's a warm-up, so a warm-up is a warm-up, right? Nothing to make a quality stamp on this.
Drawing faces, if one tiny thing is a little bit off, the whole thing is going to look off. Even after many years of drawing and practicing the human portrait, I still find that my faces look off sometimes, and I always have to go back and practice just to remind myself of the fundamentals that are required here. So just to briefly talk about these skulls, I try to draw them from different angles, and you can see here that this whole sheet took about 10 minutes. We're going to be going at a very fast pace for this, and we are only using lines and very, very basic shading. The reason for this is because I'm not necessarily focused on rendering here. I'm just focused on being able to draw something, being able to capture it accurately, and doing it.
That's kind of interesting that he said that because he's technically not capturing it accurately, and these lines look partially a bit like very gesturally, you know, very loose. So I thought that would be a warm-up, but he just said that he wants to capture it accurately, which is kind of like contradicting a bit. Obviously, it's open to everyone how to practice. Not everyone learns the same way. When I try to draw something precise and want to learn something, I would not focus on time, especially not trying to just make something in 10 minutes, because what do you expect comes good out in 10 minutes? For the people I teach, I always preach quality over quantity, which means if you try to get better with something, you should focus on the quality, not on the quantity, because no one gives really a damn, especially when you try to get a job and you try to build a portfolio. Let's say people only look for the worst thing in your portfolio and not on the best. So you always get measured by your quality. Why would you then kind of like do that? And also, if you try to get better, you always try to shoot for better quality. That's all I have to say to that.
Comfortably. Because, you know, we all get uncomfortable sometimes. Sometimes you might see the face in this kind of angle and you're like, whoa, what the hell is even that? So these are very nice and rough. You know, they're not very detailed at all. There's a lot of lines here that are more gestural as opposed to technical. And this is kind of the way that I like to draw in my sketchbook. I don't like to use my eraser too much. In fact, I don't think I erased anything that was on this page. 3/4 front view, 3/4 side view, a back view, and this skull right here is probably the most challenging.
You know, the thing is, I'm not so deep in what art he's producing on the side or what he's doing professionally. I'm guessing he's a professional. But when I see drawings like this, especially when you see the lower jawline, there are kind of like planes missing, which make the jaw or the skull look a bit flat because there are two planes which make a three-dimensional look. but he kind of like left it out, and I wonder if it was intentionally or if it wasn't.
Challenging one of the bunch, mainly because we're seeing it from a very unconventional point of view. And it's important that when you're practicing, do not run away from scenarios like this, because you want to put yourself through some challenges. Look, you got to make yourself uncomfortable, all right? You got to do things that are challenging to you, because that's the only way you're going to grow. I want you to think of this kind of like getting your reps in at the gym. Each one of these pages is one of your sets, and every single drawing is a rep. And through these repetitions in these sets, this is how you grow your artistic muscles. That's how you get huge. So after the first 10 minutes of skull practice, I decided to move on to our next page. Well, I didn't decide. I didn't have a choice. The page was full at this point. Anyways, so I felt pretty good. I was warmed up. I went straight into drawing faces and practicing a bunch of different heads. And you can see down here, this took about 20 minutes.
I like the studies because I like the way he indicates stuff like the nose or the eyes. But he also is doing lazy hair, which is something I talked about in my previous video, which I just posted a few days ago. That's something I really cannot see because hair is freaking easy to do, because it's basically a bunch of tubes bunched together in a volume pulled down by gravitation. So that's all you have to know. Anytime I see that, I feel like, okay, that's someone who basically don't want to draw their hair, you know? Everyone deserves nice hair, right? So why don't you draw it? Also, again, he draws faces for 20 minutes here. I think when you do 6 faces, it's roughly like 3 to 4 minutes per face. I kind of like wonder why he's so keen to time, you know? Anytime you try to bunch this big amount of faces into this amount of time, it makes it really hard for you to get better or to push to a certain quality. Personally, would prefer seeing him drawing one face for 20 minutes, to be honest.
To complete, essentially what I do is I pull up a series of Pinterest reference images and I go through them one by one. I try to get as many as possible. It doesn't matter if I like the reference or if I don't like the reference, as long as I can see all of the facial features and the reference images are relatively high resolution.
He doesn't care if you like or don't like the reference. Why do you draw it when you don't like it? I would never do that. That kind of like sounds like torture, if you ask me. I mean, if I draw something, I draw it because I find it interesting, and then I'm kind of like figuring out why do I find it interesting, and then I draw it. Why I try to figure that out. So why would you draw something that you don't like?
It will definitely work as a solid practice piece. So 20 minutes for this means these were about 3.5 minutes each. Some might have taken longer, some might have been shorter. Again, we are speed, lightning McQueen. When you're doing these repetitions in your sketchbook, you gotta remember to keep up the pace. You never want to get caught on one drawing and fixing it over and over again. If it's just not working out, it's time to move on. Definitely.
Okay, so the reason why he's not drawing one face in 20 minutes is he's afraid of messing it up and erasing and drawing it over and over. That's interesting. I changed that from taking something like pencil and completely going for ink. So I only do ink drawings for the last year or so, or even longer. So you can't erase, which kind of like takes this fear away. Failure or mistakes are good and they're part of the process and you need them in order to get better. So if you can like take this away by just drawing a lot of quick stuff, you do not really get somewhere with your practice.
Set a timer, be aware of the amount of time that you're spending on each drawing. So overall, looking back at this page, I'm pretty happy with this one. This one, I think this one's all right, but there could be some improvements here in the jaw area. I think I fumbled that a little bit. This one here is decent, but I do think some of the proportions.
What's also interesting that you can see that he always uses this Loomis method for drawing the heads. So they all have kind of like the same like circle and then dividing it and stuff, which is a bit outdated if you ask me. The problem with that is you start using it. I learned this myself, but then you cannot really do that for every head because the skull structure is different, cultural background, where you come from. You will run into a wall eventually if you try to use it for everyone.
On the face didn't really match what I saw in the
Also, bro, what's up with these glasses, man? Perspective.
Reference. I really do like the stylization in the front side of the face here, but I felt like some of these lines were a little bit stiff. But here's one thing that I noticed when I was doing this page of sketches, and that is, especially for this drawing and this drawing here, I felt like I was getting a little bit more tense, especially for these lines that outline the sides of the face here, and even over here as well on this guy. My hand, my pencil, it wasn't really moving in a way that was more free. And free is how I like to draw. You know, I like free. I like me a bargain. So because of that, I decided to change it up a little bit. So here's
really
what I
funny,
did
bro.
next. These drawings that you see right here are called contour drawings. But essentially, this is one of the most OP methods to get yourself nice and loose, nice and limber and flowing like Squidward. A contour drawing basically means that you set your pencil down on one point of the page and you flow through this entire drawing without lifting that tip up. So basically, each one of these portraits here are constructed from one single very long and twisted line. And this method here does absolute wonders to just help you loosen up and get your hand moving in a way that's a little bit less rigid. And that's another important point. When you're
Great method, by the way. I want to add that it's not only about getting loose and just trying to doodle stuff in. It also helps you to get a better observation for shapes and silhouette, because when you really dig down into drawing faces and interesting portraits and you go to different diversity of references, you will see that you're going to have a lot of interesting shapes. When someone has a very strong beard, they create a lot of interesting shapes. And then we can also bring back shape design. So it actually, this method can teach us a lot about active side, passive side of different shapes. Also the head and the outline and how things are working and how you can make things interesting. It's really key that you also try to a little bit more observative and not to get too loose.
You're practicing, you don't want to just do it brainlessly. You guys see how I noticed my stiffness in the previous page, so I decided to change directions and go for a different style of drawing just to get rid of that stiffness.
What stiffness?
I still have the stiffness in my hips though. God, it's But this is one thing that I like to call mindful practice, okay? You just keep your brain open, observe what you're doing, and if there's something in your drawings that you're actually not happy with, you gotta make a note.
Just give them a second plane. Just give them a three-dimensional look, please. I can't see this.
That be like, okay, this is what's causing the issue, and what can I do to potentially address that? So in the previous pages, I noticed stiffness in my lines. In the next page, we are doing a contour drawing to eliminate that stiffness in my lines. And throughout this entire process, something else that I really wanted to work on was simplification and stylization. So that's kind of what I moved on to next after I finished loosening up with some nice contour drawings. And this little contour drawing detour here only took about 10 minutes. Lightning McQueen. Now on my next page of drawings, this page we spent about 13 minutes on, and the focus for these drawings was supposed to be stylization, but I really wasn't happy with this first one. The second,
I actually like the first one, to be honest, especially when you focus on stylization. Shapes look good. Again, lazy hair. I think if you just would put a few more minutes more into the hair and things like the headphones, which again look like table tennis thingy, I don't know what's the name, or since Sam is kind of like limiting himself to time, it kind of like takes the opportunity for him away to really produce something that he likes.
The third one, this one I actually really liked. I felt like this worked pretty well, and one thing that I did differently here than the other drawings was I focused more on the overall shape of the head. I think there was a little bit more thought put into this one. It was just a little bit more intentional. Now coming down to the fourth drawing, I feel like I kind of lost my way there a little bit, even though it is stylized. It's not really done in a way that I really enjoyed, you know. I tried to really go for that weathered look, but instead of that, I got constipation. Fourth drawing is okay. I tried again to be a little bit more intentional with my shapes, but I don't think this was the right shape to use for this drawing. I feel like all of these drawings, aside from this one here, left me wanting a little bit more. Like, I know I can push the stylization more, but I wasn't really pushing it in the right directions. So guess what? We had to make another pivot. This is the next page. I was gonna just scrap this page, but I was like, you know what? I gotta face my responsibilities. So what I did is I pulled up some reference images of Disney concept art. So I just tried to refresh my mind.
I feel like if there's something that we don't need these days more is Disney concept art. I think that's also just my personal opinion. I don't know what's your opinion on it, but we have seen that over and over and over, and I just can't see it. Also, like this stuff is not interesting for me. Like, I know there's a lot of people who like this stuff, but
on the way they stylize the characters, on the way they push their proportions, and I tried to apply some of that to the references that I was using on Pinterest of real people. Yeah, I mean, this one's alright, but I do feel like, again, the shapes could be a little bit more intentional. And then after I finished this drawing, I was like, I don't like it. I just tried to copy the
he don't like it himself, so I think that's not the right
proportion
approach.
Of the Disney face, and you can see I have failed miserably here. This looks like it was drawn.
Also, this stuff is really tough, to be honest. If you ever try to draw something super stylized and try to use these ratios to something of yours, that's really hard. I think I tried it once with Pikachu and it took me so long. And I think I did not even nail the thing.
By a toddler. I'm sure my ancestors saw this and were like, oh, shame for despair. Here's the real gem. Okay, let me show you guys the next page. I mean, if y'all have a sketchbook, I'm sure you guys have pages like this too.
But he's not really drawing with form, right? He's drawing with outlines and shapes mostly. He kind of like draws the same over and over, the same kind of view also. I see that often in my students that they run into this, into this trap of trying to do something that they have done well once and they think it's the right way. But the problem is you have to get away from this because it's kind of like trying to draw a box from the front view and to make it look three-dimensional, looking good all the time, which is really, really tough. I would rather see trying him to draw maybe something more different, you know? It just feels too repetitive.
Where it's just failure and pain, but I was like halfway through and I was like, this ain't it. I, again, was not intentional enough with my shapes, and I think at this point I started to realize, I was like, I gotta do something a little bit different here. I gotta start with a clean slate. I'll come back to this page eventually. I'll fill it up with other things, but right now I I can't, please. So with a heavier focus on stylization, that brings me over to our next 10-minute page. Nice. So that's about 2.5 minutes per drawing. And in this one, I tried to be as intentional as possible with my shapes. And I think it definitely made a big difference here. Yeah. Something else that also made a big difference was that contour drawing page. It just loosened me up. I became limber. And you can see that with a lot of these lines.
I like these faces. I like these stylizations. They look good. I kind of like the way he's indicating stuff. Again, I don't like these like glasses and the lazy hair. I like the expressions, I want to say. They look good.
It really just start to flow into each other. Take this one, for example. There's a sense of energy in these lines that just was not there before. And I'm really happy with this page because you can definitely clearly determine the shapes of these characters, the shapes of their heads. Stylization on this guy, for example, squishes the front of his face and
what would be interesting if you would kind of like just take this guy he's pointing on and would try to draw him out of his imagination 3 or 4 times in different views, you know, like rotating the head he just have in his mind, trying to rotate it, because then he would really see and learn, because he would have the application. He would kind of like, he just gained knowledge, you know, and then now he would take this knowledge and try to apply it to something that he tries to make. And if he would make a page only with that, I think that would benefit his learning process much more, and he would remember much more, and he would have more fun. So Sam, if you're ever going to see this, try this, because I think that would really would bring you a lot of joy.
Accentuates this largeness of his head as well as his second chin. The stylization here is a lot more purposeful. It's not just stylization for the sake of stylization. And I tried to really carry that into these other drawings as well. So this one, for example, I really wanted to emphasize the roundness, and to accentuate that, I shrunk her facial features down inwards a little bit. Coming over to this one here, I wanted to really capture this expression and this powerful shape of the mouth. And I do think this one works really well. There's a lot of life to this character. This man here is going to be a lot more rugged. He's got much more angular shapes in his face. And there's
Bro, draw the hair. This man has such a nice hair. Look at this hair. Oh, this whole shape of the hair is just beautiful. He deserves hair. Please give him hair.
There's a level of hardness to this character that I think you can tell from the stylization as well. So I think this page worked really well, and I really wanted to carry this momentum forward with another practice sheet. Onto the next sheet, you can see I don't know. I think this drawing here on the right, it's got to be my favorite drawing by far. The portions and the shapes that I used here were a little bit less purposeful when compared especially to the other 2 portraits on this page. So that was the final sheet of practice that I did, and there's definitely a lot of room still for growth. And I'm going to try to keep this up. I'm going to try to do a little bit of practice every single day just to, you know, get my brain going, make it a little bit more challenging for myself. But if you guys want to do this yourselves, you want to do some kind of practice similar to this, you don't have to focus on stylization. You don't have to do what I've done here. You guys can pick something else that you're interested in. Maybe it's expressions, maybe it's anatomy. Whatever the case, pick a subject you want to focus on and be very mindful of what you like and what you don't like about your drawings as you're drawing them, so that during the duration of your practice, you can kind of pivot in different directions to meet your own needs. And if you are truly a freshly born, a new art baby, you're slimy like a tadpole, there are a couple things here that I think can help you out. For the tiny babies out there, okay, this is
if what he just suggested is a little bit too broad to approach. I just made a video on how to draw faces a few days ago, and I also give a 20-week drawing plan where everything is structured. So if you need that and if that's something for you, make sure to check out the video.
That's how I like to construct my heads. We'll start with an oval shape, okay? Find the center line coming down, shield for the front of the face. That's the shape of your head. You're gonna see a lot of other artists do this as well. This is just one of my favorite methods. It's always worked for me. Find that center line, find the shield shape, and that'll be the front of your face.
That's an important point he just said. If that works for him, great. If it works for you, also great. I tried it myself years ago. Kind of worked, but I realized it is not really working for the things I try to approach, which is more realistic faces. I rather use the box and construct a face and really understand what is the skull structure, how are the plane changes, how is three-dimensionality, because I personally try not to draw too stylized, and I rather just try to indicate stylization at some point. I rather would draw a full page of boxes first and then try to construct this inside of the box.
You know, if you want a drawing to be a little bit more believable, you want to draw a little bit more accurately, you want to give your characters a good old big cranium. Boom. Some other things to keep in mind as you're practicing is, let's say you've drawn a absolutely beautiful eye, and now you're freaking out, you're panicking, you're like, what do I do for the next one? Well, first of all, you shouldn't have done this in the first place. But if you did, okay, just measure the length of this eye over here, and that's going to be the start of the corner of the other eye. Now we're going to take the length of this eye and move it over, and the length of the other eye should be equal to the length of this eye. You can draw some lines here to support where the top and bottom lid would be, and you should be able to mimic the other eye. What I don't want you guys to do in this case is use the symmetry tool, okay? Never use your symmetry tool. I want you to actually practice
Symmetry tool? With the pen?
trying to make facial features symmetrical. It's a good skill to have. And because our brain is so good at recognizing human faces, if you do use the symmetry tool, it creates such a stiff look that it's not even believable. Okay, so please don't do that. This is only your last resort though. If you are going to draw eyes, I'd recommend finding an eye line here, okay, and then just drawing your eyes one at a time. If you're going to draw the upper lid, draw the upper lid on the other eye. If you're going to draw the iris, draw the iris in the other eye. If you're going to shade the iris in the other eye. Now, if you want to draw the double eyelid here, also draw it on the other eye. So you're kind of just moving between these two at the same time, and this is one of
But these eyes look flat now. And we don't want to draw flat eyes like stickers. We want to draw eyes with form, because the eye is actually a sphere. It's not a flat sticker.
One of the best ways that I find to make your eyes look consistent on your characters. Other things to keep in mind as you're drawing in your sketchbook is to avoid chicken scratching your lines. Try to make it as purposeful as you can. You know, you can practice this in your own sketchbook. Now, I personally love drawing messy. All of my lines are messy. I never have super clean lines where it's just one single smooth flowing line. That's not really how I work. So you got to figure out how you like to work. The best way to do that, again, is just with a lot of repetition. And one final thought that I want to leave you guys with is to just not butt your head into a brick wall, both figuratively and literally. Do not do that. Maybe you want to learn muscles, but you don't want to just sit down and slog through hundreds of Pinterest references of muscular men.
Okay.
But think of ways to make it fun. You know, maybe instead of just random muscles, go find that one dude in the K-drama who's just ripped and just draw pictures of him nonstop because you love him and you're obsessed. It's you know what I mean? Maybe you want to draw portraits, but
No, I know what you mean.
you just can't find the motivation to sit down and draw a bunch of portraits. That's fine. Go find that one character that you really love from your favorite anime or your favorite movie. Try to draw them. You know, make it fun for yourself. Do something that you're genuinely passionate about. I think that's the most important. At the end of the day, you gotta enjoy it. And if you're not already drawing right now, close YouTube down. Stop it, okay? Pick up a pencil. What are we waiting for here?
Making drawing fun is really important. I absolutely agree. Because drawing and also getting better with art, and if that's really your goal, if you just draw for fun, you draw for fun, right? No questions asked. If you draw to get better, I think you need a better approach where you kind of like have a timeline or a roadmap, or you streamline your process a bit more and try not to do too many different things at the same time, because you have to be a bit disciplined and you have also to learn that, you know. No one says that you are disciplined right away. Something also Something like discipline in art is something you have to learn. It takes years. He wrote on the title, "This video is beginner friendly." I kind of like find it hard because he basically was giving a lot of different informations, also a bit unstructured. I would prefer to have it more structured, especially like thinking, if I would be the beginner coming to this video and seeing that, what information did I got? Okay, I have to draw things in 10 minutes, 20 minutes. I have to draw fast, loose, can stylize. I can do contour drawing, draw from references. I should have fun. It's important. And I should focus on things that I like drawing. Yes, focus on things that are fun. Draw things that you are interested in. Really important. Don't draw references you don't like, because it literally makes no sense. Please do not just draw things in a method because someone else is doing it. Always double questioning it. Everything I tell you, everything someone else tells you, always double question it. Figure out what works for you. Do you have to construct a face? Do you have to learn what's below? Do you just want to do completely stylized things? Still, you have to know the fundamental basics. Everything that's below. Perspective, form change, etc. So that's still absolutely important. And one big disagree I have here is, do not do only fast drawings. If you do 20-minute drawings, okay, for warm-up, fine. If you do contour drawings once for warm-up, loosen up, totally fine. Focus on quality drawings, spend more time. And if you run into a wall, great, you want to learn from your mistakes. That's really important.
You want me to come over there and destroy you? What is it? Just do it. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. I hope it was insightful. I hope it was helpful. And now it's up to you to make some beautiful drawings.
It was definitely entertaining. I want to say again, Sam is really an entertainer. He's really funny, and he also edited this video really good. In terms of what he gives information. I think for a complete beginner, there are some insights. For everyone who's a bit further than this, I would say better go for something more structured, go for something a bit more organized, and focus more on quality than quantity. Of course, if you only draw for fun, you draw for fun. I hope you enjoyed this reaction. I hope I wasn't too strict again. Again, I'm German, so it's just in my nature. By the way, Sam, if you need help on improving these faces, reach out to me. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.